Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to this episode of Over 40 Fit and Lean for women over 40. Today, we're going to get real with metabolism. This is a little bit longer video, so grab paper and pen because we're going to get into the real deal around metabolism. Let's get going. Women think of metabolism as weight loss. Okay, so we've now coined the phrase to mean losing weight or losing fat, when in fact metabolism is a very complicated process. It also doesn't happen in a 24-hour window. Metabolism is something that is with you throughout your life. It gears up, it slows down, but really metabolism, the metabolic pathways, does not refer to how fast you're going or how slow you're going. It refers to the biochemical, it refers to the hormonal, it refers to digestion, elimination. So it's very complex, it's very cellular. What happens is, in our world, we hijack stuff and downplay it or minimize it. We dummy it down so that it means something that it's not meant to mean. So when we talk metabolism now, because we're in a fitness culture and a weight loss culture, metabolism is about how do I lose the weight fast, or my metabolism is slowed down. Give me metabolism boosting foods or supplements or whatever. So I want you guys to think differently. You guys know by now, everything that I do is about trying to get you to think differently. Change your story, change your life. Change your glasses, change your life. Change your beliefs, change your life. Change your viewpoint, change your life. So I want you guys to start looking at metabolism more as an ongoing lifestyle year to year. Okay, so we like to look at it like, oh, I ate too much yesterday, I'm going to rein it in today, or I'm going to go do guilt cardio, which is where we go into the gym and we try to burn off that 150 calories or whatever. I want you to start honoring metabolism as something that's not working against you. It's not something slowing down with age and you really have to fight against it. Metabolism is something that lives within you every second of every day, and how you eat and how you move will affect it to a certain degree. Okay, so I have to put that disclaimer in, because most of you guys, I gear this program, all my programming, to the 40+ woman, because we're not being served properly, excuse me, and I am one. So I know all the shit that you go through over the decades. I know how things have changed since my teens and 20s and 30s and 40s, and now I'm in my late 50s. So metabolism is going to naturally slow with age. Now, there hasn't been a lot of studies on fat loss or metabolism on weight training women, because we are still an anomaly. Now we're becoming one of the biggest cohorts, one of the biggest population groups, and they're going, oh, well, I wish we had looked at them instead of the triathletes and the cardio girls, or even the strength training powerlifting girls, which is not weight training. They have studies on them, but the powerlifting is quite limited. But all of the cardio and triathletes and all that kind of stuff, they have a lot of stuff on them. Believe it or not, they have more injury, they have more metabolic woes than us weight training women. So the science is starting to come in, but they needed to start looking at us women who've been doing this for a long time in our 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, and that research is very, very limited. And it's because we were such a small population group. Now every woman wants to jump on the weight training bandwagon, or I hope she does anyways. It's becoming way, way more popular. In my day, I had to hide out. I actually got kicked out of a gym for being a female training in a gym. So that's how far we've come. But when we look at staying the course, and you guys probably saw that 70-year-old woman who is a bodybuilder. She's beautiful. And you know, one woman was saying, oh, I want to know what her exercise routine is. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's been doing this for 40 years. Her exercise routine is consistency and commitment using weights. Ta-da! That's it. And she's probably changed her program a million times over the years. That's not the point. The point is she also feeds herself at least 6 times a day. Okay, so she's constantly feeding her body and feeding metabolism. So that's something you guys really have to wrap your head around, is that in order to strengthen metabolism, you have to feed it. So what does that look like? You don't overeat. The majority of women, in my viewpoint, in my humble opinion of doing this and training and coaching thousands of women, the majority of women are overweight because they overeat. Okay, so this is something that we have to own. This is why I wanted you guys to do calories. I wanted you to really lay it out and start seeing so that you could get real. Now, it still makes a difference if you go skinny during the week because you haven't had time to eat, and then you make up for it on weekend. That's why I say you got to count all 7 days, divide by 7 of a typical week. Don't look at your day-to-day, because there's times when I eat like at 9 in the morning, and I used to be so busy I wouldn't eat till 5 at night, and I'd be thinking, oh, I don't eat enough, that's why my metabolism is slowed. No, 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 because I generally made up for it at night. Or the other thing is I'm now sitting for my job, which has changed from years ago when I used to be waitressing, or I used to be managing parks, running around the parks in my recreation days, or training people in the gym. You're always on your feet. So we have to look at things that change as we age, because we often throw it all onto aging and a slow metabolism. And it's not necessarily so. But what I do know is that if you maintain your weight training is still one of the best tools to maintain a strong metabolism. And the reason for that is because your muscles are being broken down. But guess what? You have to feed them. And if you continue to break down your muscles and cut calories, you're just going to be like Flabby Betty, right? And you're going to be skinny, but you're going to be flabby. So, and that intensifies, sarcopenia, muscle wasting, intensifies with age after the age of 35. And I'm telling you, it really intensifies after the age of late 40s. So we have to fight to keep everything on our body. We're not sitting on the fence anymore. It's the same with metabolism. So think of metabolism as a muscle as well. It's a learned response, like your muscles. When you go in the gym, the only way to strengthen them is to train them. You're not going to strengthen them sitting in a chair. So that's why we have to weight train, and we have to specifically weight train all the muscles. We're not going to keep the muscle on our shoulders or our chest or our back when we're hiking. We have to have very area specific training. That's why weight training and hitting all the muscle groups are important, to keep all the muscle on those individual areas, okay? With metabolism, you too have to strengthen it, and you do that by being consistent in your eating and your portions and your timing, and also consistent with your training, and consistent with the amount of calories you're putting in. What happens with most women, and this is where I see the biggest challenge and the biggest misinformation around metabolism, is that women go off course all the time. And if there's one thing I want you to walk away from in this course above anything else, is that the body loves and craves and needs consistency, okay? Every organism needs consistency. The plants out there need consistent supply of sun and rain and rich soil in order to grow. And so we need the same every single day. So with metabolism, you have to feed it. That is why I threw the macro summary in with metabolism this week, because this is where we have to learn about macros. You will create a very different body if you eat 1,500 calories of peanut butter versus 1,500 calories of lean protein, quality fats, and starchy and fibrous carbs. You will not build a good body when you carb deplete. You will not build a good body or metabolism. One of the worst things you can do is do the keto diet, because when you take carbs away, you can't scientifically teach your body to eat fat by burn fat by eating more fat. I'm sorry, that's friggin' insanity. Where did that idea come from? I'm sorry, there is no science. What you're seeing out there is pseudoscience, and it's bro news. So with the keto diet, and I've seen it with competitors for years. I mean, I tried it myself. Everything I've tried, I teach you guys, because I always say experience trumps science, unless you want to be a brain surgeon, and then you better have science behind you. But for the majority of what we do in training and nutrition, fitness, whatever you want to call it, is experience-based. And the idea that you might have a damaged metabolism is also generally a myth. It's not damaged. Damaged would be if you've been anorexic for years, or bulimic for years, or you've got some kind of serious digestive issue like Crohn's or something like that, then you might have serious metabolic pathway discrepancies that aren't allowing your body to utilize the energy, which is the food coming into your body, and be able to put it in the right place and utilize it appropriately for building muscle and tissue and ligaments and energy. So when we talk about a damaged metabolism, it just means it's wonky. It just means, I always say, you teach your body how to respond. So if you're a chaotic parent, and you're parenting with rules one week and not the next week, the child gets confused and it doesn't learn to trust, and it doesn't know where to pin itself. It can't stake a claim. It doesn't know how to be grounded and how to stay true to a way of living or being in the world. And your body is the same. So your body has to have consistency in meals, in timing. And I'm not talking pure consistency, because there are some OCD people out there. And trust me, when you go into show, you're OCD, but you have to be. You see, show, competitors, physique, figure gals, they're the worst people to ask about this stuff, because it is such an extreme sport. And you cannot stay at 12% body fat. You're not meant to. So sure, they ricochet back out and gain all the weight. It's not generally because of a messed up metabolism. It's because we have taken it to the brink, because it's such an extreme sport. Imagine, there is no other sport in the world that I know of where you have to cut calories so much and you have to train your ass off and try to keep energy up to lift as heavy as you can and show up on stage for 2 minutes at 12% body fat. Right? So the body is not meant to go that way. And I learned going through show in my 30s and then going back into show in my 50s. Oh man, indeed, this aging thing does change you. However, the longer you've been training and eating consistently and managing your macros so that you're fueling your body in the proper way, the less resistance to fat loss as you age, and the less you fall into the aging process. I still had a hard time when I went back into show at 54 years old, trying to lose that extra 20 pounds? Can't remember. And it was really hard because I had aged. And so I'd also slowed down my life, though, you see. And that's not aging. That's just slowing down your life, sitting a lot more because my business was building. So I really had to look at it and go, okay, I used to be able to eat 1,600 calories. Now I'm like down to 1,200 calories. I'm also a small person. You're not going to put on any more muscle, guys, after you've been training for 30 years. It doesn't happen. There's no way I would put on 30 pounds of muscle because I'm topped out. What I can do is refine it and keep it and help to reshape it and add a little bit here, maybe take a little bit away, change up my exercise routine so I hit glutes a little bit more, but I'm not going to gain another 10, 20, 30 pounds of muscle unless I did PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, which I'm not going to do, which even then on an aging body is very limited. So I've never gone that route. I'm not about to go that route because, believe it or not, I am one of the few competitors that have done this for health. So at every step of the way, I made a promise to myself to practice health, healthy eating, healthy basic supplements. You guys know I'm not big into supplements. Don't run for the BCAAs first. Don't run for the glutamine. I consider protein powder as a dried food. I don't consider it a supplement. It's just a dried food. So keep it simple. And the real guts between in getting your physique developed and keeping your metabolism strong and strengthening it is the consistency in the weight training. Okay, 3 to 5 times a week, minimal cardio at this age, minimal cardio. I'm not talking hiking or biking. That's fun stuff. I consider those activities. I don't consider them exercise. I'm talking cardio when you're going in and you want to plod away in the same movement to lose fat. It's insanity. And I would rather see you not eat that donut than try to burn it off an hour on a machine. Okay, your time is precious. And also with the cardio, the constant cardio, your body will always conserve energy. That is the other thing about metabolism. Excuse me. Your body always wants to conserve. So if you're in a calorie reduction, what we do every once in a while is we throw a cheat meal in. Now, cheat meals, again, have been bastardized. Everybody wants a cheat meal. Oh, I get a cheat meal today. I'm going to have a whole pizza. Well, why don't you just call it time off the clock? So a cheat meal is basically where you're doing well and you kind of feel, no, I need something because I'm going to gnaw that table leg. Okay, then go out and feed yourself. And I do this with my one-on-one girls. That's a way of keeping metabolism strong. If you stay in a calorie deficit for too long, 7, 10, 14, 21 days, you're going to start feeling, that's your key. You've got to eat something. Now, it's going to take about 7 days for your body to click over into no sugar or into no refined carbs. So know that that is a learning process. It takes about 7 days for that to settle in, where your body finds its new normal. So sometimes you just have to dig in and get through that. But if you go and you start going, okay, I'm going to take away my calories for 3 days. Oh, I can't stand it. I'm going to go out and binge. Bah! 3 days and binge. Bah! Then what happens is your body's going, what the fuck? Oh, pardon me. Sorry. What the heck? I hope there's no kids around. What are you doing? Like, I don't understand. First of all, you want me to do this, and then all of a sudden you go crazy and you do this, right? It's like I say, it's like bad parenting. Your parent is calm and let me talk to you about this. And when you went out last night, you stayed out late. I wasn't really happy about it. I want you to be responsible. And then the next time they go out and they stay out late, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Right? It's like the child is like, holy shit. I had a mother like that. I know. So when you are inconsistent, you can't teach that child and you can't teach that body how to move into a groove where it can come to trust. So when you've been binging and dieting all these years, when you've gone diet after diet, or you've gained weight, tried to lose weight, right? Yet another diet. Oh, and these days it's paleo or keto, or if it fits your macros or whatever. It really is about portions. And it really is about, we always say 2 things. Whatever you do has to build and strengthen metabolism and has to be sustainable for life. Okay, so what you're doing now with your eating has to be sustainable for life. If it's not, you are going to careen off, and you're going to, like a lot of competitors do, because you can't stay that kind of eating style for life. There's no friggin' way. So we binge, or we just eat back to a place where we start adding on weight because the body's like, man, you are starving me. I can't live at 12% body fat. And so the body has to add on. And this is where a lot of competitors lose their mind, because they've worked so hard. It takes so long to get down low, and it takes a week before you get soft and lose all that refinement in your muscle, right? You can't see any of that, but that's because the body needs to do it to protect. So your metabolism is strong when it's working with you. It's not strong when it's working against you or you're working against it. Okay, coax the body and it responds. Force the body and it rebels. So one of you guys, I think it was Gail, that was asking me about the Lean for Life cycle diet. And it is something I can put women on, but they have to be at a certain low body fat, because here's the deal. What happens is, if you're above 20% body fat and you're going, you're staying consistent and keeping your calories low, if you're still heavy, your body, after years of doing this, you've been teaching your body how to store fat really well, especially if you've been doing lots of cardio in absence of proper weight training. Proper meaning intensity, okay? So that's what I'm trying to show you guys. So we've got our double split routine. I hope you're still enjoying it. I want you guys just to, excuse me, still got that cold. I want you guys just to continue to build into it, okay? So we're progressing into it. I don't expect you to be able to do all the glute stuff. I don't expect you to be able to even possibly squat with weight, but I am expecting you to look at it and go, I have a goal, I can build into that. Or if that doesn't suit your body, you've got injury, then you can find something else that's going to suit you, because this is where, as a coach, I am there to guide you, but I want you to pick up the reins to be able to manage your own life, because you're not going to be with me forever. And I hope that you don't keep running around from gym to gym, trainer to trainer, looking for somebody to run your world for you, run your body for you, run your eating for you. At this age, we should be able to run our own eating. We should be able to eat intuitively, and that's where we're working towards, okay? So this requires, though, that you stay consistent in what you do, and that means weekends as well. Weekends are not a time to let it all go. Because what happens is then the guilt and the shame and the remorse comes in. And what happens is you create a pattern, and your body follows that cue. The pattern that you want to create is consistent parenting. The pattern that you want to create is healthy foods, because you're also wiring it in your brain. And I want you guys to feel that you are worth it to feed your body well. And, you know, people say to me, well, you know, when you go by the Starbucks pastry counter or whatever it happens to be, I mean, don't you just like want it? I'm like, no, because I don't live in denial. Denial is a mindset. Denial is something that we look at because the rest of the world, we want to be able to enjoy, we want to have our cake and eat it too. So we want to be lean and healthy and lose fat easily, but we want to be able to eat our cake. It doesn't work that way. I'm telling you, it doesn't work that way. You guys know that. You can't have a mortgage or have a nice house if you're always spending money. You have to learn, like adults, to save your money, to invest, to work at your career to get higher income, whatever it happens to be. If you go on holidays 2 or 3 times a year, then you're probably not going to be able to buy that hot tub. Everything is about a compromise. And so when it comes to your food and your metabolism and your body, that too is a compromise. And people that are successful long-term and stay healthy and shapely and lean, when I say lean, I'm saying anywhere from 20 to 25% body fat or even lower. When they stay that way, it's because they've learned to compromise. And compromise is not a 4-letter word. Compromise is what adults do throughout every area of life. And when you learn to compromise with your food and say, I'm not going to ruin it by going out and have a cinnamon bun. You know, there's that commercial. I just need to sip. It's my coffee. There's that commercial of the lady, and she's sitting on a park bench, and somebody's offering her, I don't know if it's Cheetos, or offering her something to eat, snack food. And she's going through her head, okay, what did I do today? Well, I took the dog for a walk, and I went to the gym. And she went, okay. And I'm like, no, actually, why don't you stay in calorie deficit? So I see that a lot with women. They reward themselves. You're not a dog. Don't reward yourself with food. If you want to reward yourself, go out and reward yourself with a nice new training jacket because you've lost 3 inches. That's a better reward, right? But instead we use food for reward. And so food becomes an emotional attachment. And I swear to God, I'm certain, I don't know how they're ever going to measure this, but this is my theory, that all of the, like the United States is rife with the biggest people in the world. And we have a lot of, I think 30% of the population is obese. And that's obese 1. It gets worse as you climb up the ladder. But I believe it's because we are so emotionally spent. We are so much trying to keep up with the Joneses. We are so much trying to find the answer. We're looking out there. And we're, we don't like the environment. We don't like our politics. We don't like our neighbors. We don't like the roads we're on. There's so many things that we're kiboshing that we're not happy souls. So what do? We feed it with food, because food is an immediate, oh, it feels good. Right? And I went on that train for a long time too. Trust me. And I was like training hard. You can't out-train a bad diet. You can't out-train a calorie, over calorie consumption. Okay? You can't out-train a calorie surplus. You just can't. And it's not in your best interest to try to do so, because it just chips away at your confidence and your spirit. So when we talk about metabolism, the reason I want you on consistent meals, and it's anywhere from 4 to 6 meals. What are meals? I mean, you can't go out and eat more than you are, or you're just going to gain more weight. So that's why you have to consider what you're eating. And my meals kind of look like snacks. I think people look at them and go, whoa. But I eat like 4 times a day, sometimes 5, it depends. But I have to be careful. And I know now I have that tolerable hunger. That is why I want you on consistent meals, so that you have that tolerable hunger where your body will go, oh, okay, I'm a little bit hungry. I want to eat. And that happens to me about 2.5 to 3.5 hours after the last meal. And it's on cue. Now, if my weekends were different, or if I go out and have too much wine and I don't eat, then it throws out my blood sugars and I'm messed up for the next day. That goes right out the window. I have lost my voice of reason. I have lost my grounding because I've thrown out my biochemistry. And it can happen in one day, but you get it back. But you have to consciously go, okay, oh, that was Monday, now Tuesday. Okay, I got to have my protein, oatmeal in the morning, which I always have. And then as soon as I do that and I start training, everything comes back in line again. It's like it rejigs the wheels, right? And everything comes back in line again. And my body knows that routine and it likes it. It's like, oh, good boys. Okay, we're back. Karen's back. Okay, we're back to what we know, because what we know is what we want. And we want to be able to be predictable. This is what your metabolism is saying to your body, and your body's saying to metabolism, it's okay, we're back on track. Oh, thank God. Right? But when you go off all the time, you're all over the place, right? It's like trying to rein in chickens. It doesn't work. And so you owe it to yourself to stay consistent. I know we're all busy. I know we all have different weekends than during the week. But when you learn to take food with you, when you learn to manage it, now some of you guys are up super early during the week and not so much on the weekends. Okay, if you have to get up at 5 a.m. during the week, I forgive you if you don't want to get up at 5 a.m. on the weekend, but you can get up at 7 and not 10 because you're still staying within that little circadian rhythm of yours. Circadian rhythms are the daily rhythms, okay, where your metabolism goes up and then it goes down again. Your metabolism basically is your body's energy system. When the energy is high, it wants more fuel, and then it starts to ramp down at night. When the moon goes down, so too does our body, and your body just kind of goes, la, I don't need a bunch of food now, man, because I'm going to bed. I want to go to sleep and I want to clean my organs. And if you're throwing a bunch of food in there because you missed out during the day, you're creating chaos in your body, and your metabolism can't respond because it's not in a healthy, consistent way. So metabolism does change as you age, but not as much if you've been maintaining healthy eating and training throughout your life, and not as much as you think. So you don't have to go from, oh, I used to eat 2,500 calories, now I can only eat 1,000. Something's changed there for sure, and you need to look at your entire lifestyle. But this is where I went through the myths, okay? And we can go through these again if you want, but these are all myths. I'm just looking at them. You are fat because you eat too little. Not generally. Not generally. Sometimes I'll see women eating 1 meal a day and they can't lose the weight, yeah, because their metabolism is tanked, but they don't remember on weekends they make up for it. They're drinking too much wine. They'll go party or whatever. Like, it really has to be 1 meal a day for a year. And then you can go, okay, we need to take that meal. Don't add in more calories. Just take that meal and chop it up into 3. Okay, and then when you do that, then your body can take a breath in between and your metabolism kind of wakes up. So there's very few people that don't eat enough and their metabolism is slow. It usually is they're not looking at actually how much they're eating and how chaotic their eating is. Stress will cause weight gain due to cortisol. Not necessarily. That's the adrenals. That's what I'm going through right now. I have adrenal fatigue because it's been a long haul, but the last few years have been extremely tiring, and it has been where I have been managing 3 businesses pretty well at once. This business, which has grown, thankfully, the house, which is a business in itself because it's big, and I have like 6 animals and an acre, and my son's life and the care workers around him, which I have to fill in with. So I definitely have come to a place of burnout, and my cortisol is high. And is that because of stress? Yes, it is, but it's also because I've tired my body. I've tired my body, but it's the adrenals. So the adrenals are being nurtured with pantothenic acid and vitamin C and mushroom, reishi and astragalus and those kinds of things. So I have a wonderful Chinese practitioner who's helping me with that. I know all this stuff anyways. It is my response to my world, you see, because I have my life's pretty tightly wound, more so than most. But I manage it because I don't look at it like, stress. That's my mind creating that. It doesn't have to be. Just because I got a lot of pokers in the fire does not mean it has to be stressful. So the cortisol is about the adrenals just feeling fatigued, and we feed the adrenals. And so cortisol is a necessity for healthy metabolism. Insulin is demonized these days. You need insulin, guys. And that is why with girls who train pretty heavy and pretty consistently, I will give them a post-workout meal with sugar, not like white table sugar, but something in there like a banana or even juice, because insulin then shuttles protein into the cells, you see. So insulin is necessary for proper protein synthesis. So we demonize insulin now, and we shouldn't. then we also demonize carbs, as you guys know. You cannot build and maintain a strong metabolism, strong workings of the body month after month, year after year without carbs. What is low carb? We went through that when we talked about carbs. You guys got to figure out what low carb is for you. I would say anything between 40 and 80 grams of carbs is low. So most women, though, when they talk about low carb, they're talking about cutting out the shitty crap. So I would rather call it cutting out the shitty crap diet than a low carb diet, because it's demonizing carbs. And I eat a lot of fresh veggies. I eat my oatmeal. I eat rice, I eat potatoes, yeah, white and yam. So, but I know how to manage it in my meals. And in our macros that you guys got, I showed you how I constructed some of my meals. And there are some meals where I'll take away the starchy. But again, this is because I know my body. And you guys need to know your body. You are not going to know your body without it being in a consistent state. When it's consistent, then you can look at the indiscretions and go, okay, well, let me see. I took out carbs on my second meal during lunch. I just had chicken and salad. But then I found, and this is where we write it down. My workout, I wasn't very strong. I was really tired after. I wanted to nap. Then look back. You're only as good as your last meal and your next meal. Look back to that meal. Oh, I cut out carbs. Maybe I need to keep them in there. So you need to stay with something for at least a week, maybe 2, to see if it's working. Don't go day by day. Oh, I'm tired today. What did I do? Oh, I did that. It's not that immediate, guys. When we take sugar away from women, it takes about 3 days for the body to settle out from the sugar cravings, and then you don't crave it. When we add little things in like sugar or breads or some kind of carbohydrate that's man-made, people with autoimmune, like rheumatoid arthritis or any other kind of conditions where sugars can aggravate it. It takes about 3 days. I have a client of mine who has rheumatoid, and she has come to know this about herself because she's curious, and she stays curious. Every time she adds sugar in, it takes about 3 days before her RA comes up again, and it starts to flare up in her hands, and she feels achy in her body. And she goes, oh yeah, I started to eat tropical fruits, or I started to add in, designer coffees or whatever it happens to be for her. And the sugar took that many days to move in and make a response in her body in an inappropriate way. So that's where you guys have to not look at the immediate and go, oh, I'm tired today. What did I do last night? Or it's not always that way. When we binge, for example, for show, and we do a refeeds are very different than cheat meals. They're very tailored to the person and they're timed. And what refeeds do is they help to manage leptin and ghrelin. So for those of you guys that were in my metabolism course, if you recall, we talked about leptin and ghrelin. So ghrelin is the one where you feel hungry and you want to feed it. Leptin is the one that says you're full and you're satiated and you don't need to eat more. So those two hormones have to be in a relationship. And they do this. Ooh, 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 ooh. That's what they do. They're meant to do that, right? So ghrelin is like, it starts to show itself and go, I'm hungry, and then you eat, and then the leptin levels fill up and goes, oh, I'm fine now, I'm full. What happens is with chronic dieters or people not consistent in their meal planning, those go out of whack, and those signals are like, and they can't work with each other. They can't speak to each other. It's the same with insulin and glucagon. It's the same thing. So your pancreas shoots out insulin, and insulin is a way of driving down blood sugars to manage it. But too much of the high sugars, your body has to shoot out too much insulin, and it plummets. And when it plummets, you're going to go into hypoglycemia. It's just supposed to trickle out. So you're not supposed to have massive quantities. And that's where you become insulin resistant, because your pancreas gets worn out, because you keep throwing too much sugar in there, and or simple carbs, whatever you call it. A lot of people don't even know designer coffees are definitely sugars. So you got to be careful with those, right? Frappuccinos and pumpkin spice. I didn't know pumpkin was a spice, to tell you the truth. That new movement has just gained such momentum this year, and I am so glad. I look at that and go, why? I don't want it. I don't want it in my body, because I know what the feeling of that sugar after I taste it, after my taste buds have had a little orgasm in there. Okay, that was great for 3 seconds, but then I know what it feels like in the body for the next day or two. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I did it for years. I'm not doing it again. So you guys, I want you to click into not the food that is calling you, that donut or that whatever it happens to be, that pastry, that juicy, thick bar. Instead of looking at, oh, that's great, I want that, I want you to think about how you're going to feel after you finish it. I want you to click into the emotional resonance afterwards, because that is where the truth is. And that's what keeps me online all these years, is I don't ever want to go back to live that again. And I am not willing to give up my sense of energy and centeredness and feeling great and being lean for that. I'm not doing it. I don't need it. Sure, I'll have a donut, maybe. Well, I don't eat donuts. Let's say muffin. You know, muffin to me is like a donut. Yeah, people go, yeah, well, it's handmade. Okay, sure, but whatever. To me, it still is not what. It's not a whole food. It's not what you'd find in nature. Sure, it might be healthy ingredients, but they're all processed, compartmentalized, and stuck back together again. So I always say whole foods are how you find them in nature, right? But every once in a while, I'll go down to Whole Foods and grab a bag full of their muffins. I love their banana chocolate chip. Oh my God. And they're so big, I could make like 3 meals out of them. So I put them in my freezer and I give a bunch to my husband to take to work, but I always have one. I actually put a sign on it saying, do not touch, for fear of death. Because my husband knows that that is my little treat. And what I'll do is I will, go the whole week, and maybe on Sunday morning, I'll have half the muffin lathered in butter. And it just is a way, it's time off the clock, but it is something that I enjoy and I savor it, man. And then I put it to bed for another few weeks. I don't need to do it all the time because I tend to my emotions in other ways. Now I've learned to tend to them. I used to tend to my emotions with drugs and alcohol, right? We all did. Well, maybe not all of us. I certainly made up for those of you who didn't. I lived in Banff for a lot of years, and it got dangerously close for me a few times. So I know what the reason is, to deaden the emotions and to fill it with another way of checking out or another euphoria with sugar. Now I look at it and go, I'm not going back to that place. I've grown out of that. I can master my emotions. And if I want a muffin, it's because I want to taste that delectable muffin, and it's not taking the place of something. So before you reach for something, I want you to say, why? Why am I reaching for that muffin? Why am I reaching for that bonbon? And just stop right before, because generally, if you reach for it, you're going to look back and go, oh, right, that memory. And it might be an old memory, or it might be a coworker said something to you, and you just immediately want to not feel it. But what you're going to feel is you're going to replace that, which was just a need to address something. You're going to replace that with feelings of shame and guilt after. And that is where women get into the spiral, and they create a pattern of thinking. And that pattern of thinking is easing our pain with food, and then beating ourselves up with eating that food to dull our pain. And it becomes this craziness, and women live it for years. And that is what the diet industry thrives on. It does not thrive on your success. It thrives on you going up and down and up and down. And I mean, they're not going out there saying, okay, we're going to create this diet plan to mess people up. That's not what they're saying. But there's such a call for it because women keep coming back to the table with, well, that one didn't work. Let's try the next one. Okay, let's see. It's 2008. What's popular this year? What was popular that year? I'm just trying to think. Low fat? And then it's 2018. What's popular this year? Keto. Now we've got social media where we've got a keto group with over 200,000 people in it. And one woman said, isn't that great? We must be successful. And I said, isn't that awful? You must all be so lost. And she got really mad at me. But women have divorced themselves from their own intelligence and their own ability to run their lives. And I want you guys to take back the power, or to earn the power that you may not have ever had over food and over managing your emotions, because that generally is what the overeating is about. It's also about managing your life. And I know we're all busy, guys. I understand that. But when you get into a groove and you get into a habit of, if you're out of work for 5 days a week, you're taking food with you. You have time to make a breakfast at home. Go on to my warriorwomanfitness.com and look up recipes and look at the protein in a mug. Look at the protein pancakes. You can take that stuff with you. Then you have lunch that you've taken with you. So lunch, and then you're going to maybe have a snack or a meal. I don't snack. I think all of my meals are just small meals. I don't like snacking in between. We don't always want to dull every fire. We are not going to build up our metabolism by eating constantly throughout the day. Now, there are some people that can, but when you look at the end of the day and you add up those calories don't amount to any more than what they would normally eat if they ate 2 or 3 meals. There's science is still out as to whether you're revving up your metabolism. Hi, Gail. Whether you've revved up your metabolism by eating more meals or eating less. The science is still out. So I usually eat 4 meals a day, sometimes 5. If you're a bigger woman, you might get away with 6, but again, you have to manage the size. So some of you guys have come in late. I didn't tell you what time I was coming on. I think I said I was around 11-ish for this. For those of you guys that are coming in late, I want you to go back and listen to this video. It's really important, the aspects of metabolism and trying to redefine it in a way that's going to work for you in your life, okay? So we're going to continue this talk. Metabolism is not a 24-hour thing. Metabolism is day in, day out, week after week, month after month, and you're building metabolic resilience by continuing on the straight and narrow and the consistency of it day after day, week after week, month after month. That's why diets don't work, guys, because a diet will get you there, and then what happens after that? Most women don't stay with it, or they fall away, and then over the year they slowly gain the weight back and more. And then they come back to yet another diet or another hypey, whatever it happens to be that their guru is handing out at the gym. It doesn't work. I want you to look at this as a bachelor's degree versus a night course, okay? And it may not, that may not turn you on. It may not be sexy. It may be like, oh God, I have to do this for the rest of my life. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to earn money for the rest of your life. And you have to brush your teeth and wash your face the rest of your life too. So you have to manage your food, you have to manage your metabolism, and you need to move your body for the rest of your life. Because I'm telling you, if you don't move your body in a way that breaks down the normal walking and sitting of everyday life, I see it here in Sydney. I live in a seniors community, and you know, so many of them are brought up in a time when they didn't favor or honor fitness, where walking with the girlfriends was enough. It's not enough. It's not enough, guys. And all the sports science out there has proven that. And I see these people, I call them, it's like they're caving in on themselves when they're walking along. And yeah, they may be lean or thin. They're not really lean. They're just, you know, but everything's caving in. Their shoulders, they're hunched over, they're walking with, you know, they don't have a stride about them. They don't have fluidity in their hips and their shoulders. They're just like, and that's what happens as we age. And it's shocking to see what happens to the human body and the human brain when it's not being stressed in a healthy way. So exercise is a healthy stress. It is forcing you to open up your body. Every time we move our body, and we have to move, and we stress the muscles, the bones have to get impacted with the muscles pulling against them, and the bones have to strengthen and stay strong. I have a bad hip, my right hip, and so I'm thinking, oh, geez, you know, I went and had it x-rayed or whatever. I had my knee x-rayed too. I had a bone density a few years ago just out of curiosity, and my doctor called me and said, well, I'm sure you will probably believe this again, but you have no arthritis in your hip whatsoever. He said, that's the good news. He said, you know, probably you just have to do rehab because I pulled a muscle and everything's tightening around it or whatever. But he said, you know, at your age, I don't often see this. You don't have any arthritis in your body. And he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And he knows I'm a trainer, and he knows I'm a sports nutritionist, and I said, yeah, but you know, it's funny because people are going to say, yeah, but it's also genetics. It ain't genetics. My mother she lost 4 inches. She's 81 and she's lost 4 inches, and she is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. and she's all hunched over and she walks like this, and she's on thyroid meds, synthroid, and she's on calcium. It doesn't matter at that point. You're not going to get your calcium back. Uh, so it's not necessarily genetic. It's how you've lived your life. My mother, she doesn't like meat. She's never really hardly eaten meat. She's never had a drop of alcohol ever, so that's a good thing. But she likes her coffee, which is very acidic, and that draws the bones out. I don't think she's ever drank a glass of water. And she doesn't eat poorly, but she has always tried to keep her weight low and been on these little, cottage cheese and fruit, kind of diets and stuff like that. And she's lost over 4 inches. So it's interesting if you could take yourself and be in a parallel universe, because people say, well, it must be because of this or this, or they'll ask me a lot of time, what's the cause? And I'm like, I really don't know, but I get clues. But if you could take your body like 30 years ago and go on one trajectory, and take that same body and be in a parallel universe on another trajectory, that's where we could really see the science coming in and going, okay, well, if you do this, this is what's going to happen if you do this. And that's kind of the way I feel with me and my mom, is that I am my mother's daughter for sure. And I have taken all of her genetics and been able to live a very different life of wholesome, real food with quality macros, guys, with ample protein, probably anywhere from 80 to 120 grams a day, with ample carbs. I'm sitting with an extra 10 pounds on me, which I don't always like, but I do know that if I get lean again, it's going to be a lot of work, because I'm almost 58 and I'm not willing to go there. It's winter time. I don't want to do it. And it also is going to take away from my training. So this is why I have to say to girls, if you're only 10 pounds out, be happy with that, but what kind of compromise you're going to have to do to get there. I'm happy with where I am because it's winter time, I can layer up. And then I will slim down again in the spring and summer, which is what I like to do. That is my cycle, and it works really well for me and a lot of my one-on-one clients as well. So again, you come to live and eat with the seasons, right? And this is a natural time for hanging on a little bit more. So know that metabolism too, this time of year, when it's getting cooler, it is wanting those warming foods. It is wanting the root vegetables. It's wanting the warming meats, especially the meats with heme in it, the red meats, okay, the hemoglobin. And that's the warming foods. It doesn't want the raw vegetables. It doesn't want the cold foods, because that throws off digestion, which throws off metabolism. So this is what we're looking at in the Warrior Woman program, is fall, according to Chinese philosophy. How they eat and how they move is very different than in the spring. So fall and winter are one way, spring and summer is another way. So to feed that metabolism, you have to eat according to Mother Nature, according to the seasons. Don't go on to the California diet, as they call it, where you're having a salad with every meal with something on it, because it's going against your immune system. When your immune system is wanting to go a certain way as it heads into fall and winter, just like the animals that are foraging for nuts and berries and they're hiding them out in their little nests, your body too is foraging for nutrient-dense foods. So what that means is I don't have shakes in the fall and the winter at all. They're watery and they're cooling to the body. I don't like it. I will have soup where I'll add in extra meat. I will have warming foods. Or if I do have protein, it's just in a little bit of water and I shoot it back, and then I'll have my meal of whatever else it is. It doesn't happen to have protein in it because I've got it in my protein and water. So I want you to really start listening to your body. The macros are really important. And I gave you guys ideas of how I eat and my timing and why I make certain decisions as I do. It pretty well is how most aging women, I know, if you're over 35, you're aging. You're always aging, but the body definitely shifts after 35 with the hormones. We got to keep the leptin and ghrelin in a concert where they're doing that ebb and flow with each other, because they're supposed to. And when we cut too much in calories, the metabolism gets messed up. If we cut consistently month after month, yeah, you will slow your metabolism, but within a week you can get it up again. So we don't really have damaged metabolisms. The body really does want to keep you healthy. It wants to keep you strong. And you have to trust the body, but you have to give it the raw tools in order to do that. Moving the body, letting it sleep, consistent sleep. Don't sleep in on weekends. Go to bed the same time. You should be in bed before 10 p.m., guys. Okay. I know some of you are shift workers, and of course that doesn't factor in. But also know that people that do shift work have a 300% increase in autoimmune and cancers because the immune system gets thrown out, because it's out of sync with how the immune system and the body is supposed to work. We're supposed to rise with the sun. We're supposed to go to sleep when it ceases and when it gets dark outside. This time of year, we are going to be sleeping more. And this is what I had to say to my warrior women girls when I did a video for them, because everybody's talking about, oh, I don't feel well, oh, I'm sleeping long, oh, what's wrong with me? And I said, don't make it wrong, guys. Stop making it wrong. This is the wisdom of the body. Nomadic tribes, they slept longer. They had big hunts to do, and they had to conserve their energy in wintertime. So they're sleeping longer, and the days are shorter and the nights are longer. That's how the body operates. So don't think there's something wrong because you're sleeping longer. Why not look at it like your body is doing what it's supposed to do in sync with Mother Nature? In the spring and summer, we all know that we're up and doing more. We have more energy, and it's often easier to stay lighter and leaner in the spring and summer because of that. Now, what does get us is all the partying and the camping. So it's not because it's not because of the seasonal change. It's because we change our world here in North America, where summer is like tons off and we go camping and margaritas and travel and cruises. So we're actually going against the grain because we become less active. This is where I see a lot of women canceling their gym memberships. I'm not going to train this summer because I'm doing all this other stuff. All that other stuff does not keep you lean because it's not weights. And then they come back in September and go, oh God, I gained weight. Okay, come on back. Come on back. So that's just a little bit of a side note on how our lifestyle is so different than how our bodies want them to live. And we have divorced ourselves so much from our bodies and our spirits. That's a big one. And our spirits and our ways of thinking. And women are really, really good at beating themselves up. And we have to stop that nonsense, because we are degrading ourselves and degrading our spirits. And I mean, we are vibration. We are energy in motion. And that can't be denied. Even science has to prove that we're right in that one. They're like, okay, we got to give them that one. Thoughts create our reality. They create a vibration. And this is where we're looking at vibratory strengths in the warrior woman, and the lower levels of guilt and shame and remorse, which is what dieting women go through every single week. Those are self-destructing. Those, you're vibrating at a lower vibration. Everything's vibrating, guys. And again, this is science. This is what Einstein did when he factored in his E equals MC squared. Okay, so energy can never be destroyed. It can only be transmuted, but everything's vibrating. And I don't know if you remember your science class, but I try to forget my science class in college and post-secondary, but everything's vibrating. That rock is vibrating. The trees are vibrating. They're all vibrating at a frequency. And when you look at the vibratory rates of certain emotions, they vibrate at a scale of 20 up to 500. And this is what we learned in this book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David Hawkins. He's a doctor and a PhD, and he has studied, him and his colleagues have studied the vibratory rates of certain emotions. And shame and guilt and fear and remorse are the lowest. And when we stay there and live there, that's what degrades the whole body, because the cells are vibrating at this low vibration. When we get up into courage and learning to speak our truth, learning to step into our life and own it, that's vibrating at 200. Suddenly the organism is like it brightens. So if you look at us through a camera, we are brightening, the aura is brightening. And then when we move up through acceptance, love, and joy, we're vibrating even higher. So in my spiritual work, what I do in class with my teacher, who I've been with for decades, we raise our vibration. And so we do it through vibratory frequencies where we're moving through the chakra system. Again, I know I'm going a little woo-woo here. Moving through the chakra system, and we're looking at each chakra and trying to get it to spin and vibrate those colors. And you guys know when you're feeling really great, or you won that bonus, or you're down 10 pounds, or you just did a competition, or whatever it happens to be, you're like, ah, it's because accomplishment and joy and following through has a high vibratory rate. And so it's feeding your body and feeding your cells. And this is where I want you guys to live from. I don't want you just to go and experience it and then go back into the mundaneness of everyday life, which is where most of the people out there, I call them the walking dead. They are asleep. They are sleepwalking. And you only know that when you yourself wake up. And so waking up means, for me, looking at all the craziness in the fitness and nutrition industry and go, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? And women are damaging and hurting themselves and beating themselves up and running to another guru and running to another diet book. How many diet books do you have on your shelf right now? I bet you've got a few. So when you're running around and running around and running around, you're throwing your lovely, honored power, your beautiful essence outside of yourself, and you're throwing it away. You're throwing it away. You're throwing it away. Or you walk past the gym and you go, oh, geez, I've been training for 3 months and look, I still have a fat ass. Let's throw away all my energy, all my strength, all my power. There you go again. Stop doing that. Every day when you wake up and you assert to yourself, this is how I'm going to move today. This is how I'm going to eat today. That's why the first rule of thumb is to eat a good breakfast. Because you're immediately saying to yourself, I'm worth feeding my cells well. This is what I'm eating, and you're starting your day off right. If you go through the drive-through and you get pancakes and syrup, you're not starting your day off right, guys. Okay? You are starting your day off, you're subduing yourself. Okay? You're subservient to the forces and the marketing out there that says, oh, I really want pancakes and syrup. No, you don't. That's your emotions, because you're waking up and there's something about the day you're not wanting to face and you want to fill it with crap. You want to fill it with sugar. Sugar and carbs are the same thing. So carbs have been demonized, but the real carbs, the fresh veggies and even the grains and the rice and some fruit are the loveliest, most succulent carbs. But when we're going out there getting the man-made shit, we are treating ourselves like shit. And I don't want you guys doing that anymore, because you deserve to feel good, and your body deserves for you to feed it well. Your cells are innocent bystanders to everything you put in them. So it can only do what you're giving it as raw materials. So if you're continually feeding it alcohol or shitty food, or you're going out for a greasy burger 3 times a week, your cells are just going like, okay, now what do we do, boys? Let's try to make this work. You're teaching your body how to respond. So with women who have been overweight for a long time, the challenge with them is to get their weight down, and it takes longer than some of us that have been overweight for 20 or 30 pounds. When you're 50, 80, 100 pounds, it's a challenge. It can happen, but what's happened is your body has gotten, remember, we teach our body how to behave. We teach our kids how to behave. We teach our bosses how to treat us, right? So when we're sitting with 50, 80, 100 extra pounds year after year after year, our bodies have come to see that as normal. And so what happens is when we fight to lose the weight, it'll lose it at first and then it'll plateau. And plateaus are not evil. Plateaus are necessary. I've talked about this. Your body needs to plateau just to take a breath. But if that plateau lasts for months, it might last for months with the woman who's got to lose 100 plus pounds, because she's got a long way to go. But her body has been hanging on to 100 pounds for a very long time. Versus the woman, and I've seen this before, and it's a celebrity fitness gal, I'm not going to mention her name, but she uses the same friggin' picture all the time when she was pregnant, and she gained a lot of weight when she was pregnant, like 80 pounds. Probably, maybe there's some toxicity in there, some edema, I'm not sure. But a lot of women, their eating just goes out of control. Or some women, admittedly, allow it to be a reason to eat. I would have too, except I was sick all the time. But yeah, I mean, why not, right? And then she had this extra 100 pounds that she carried because she was breastfeeding. It takes a while to lose that after pregnancy because your hormones are all over the place. And it lasted for her for about 8 to 12 months. And then she went back to her normal 22% body fat. But that was a short window for her to have that extra 100 pounds. So her body didn't see it as a ritual. It didn't see it as, oh, okay, we've lived here for a long time. They saw it as out of the norm, where she was at 130 pounds and then she went up above 200. And then the body lost it quickly because it wasn't its norm, because it hadn't lived there for a long time. It always lived smaller. But for women that have been carrying a lot of weight for a long time, then the body gets used to that and it really struggles to let it go, because it's like, well, hey, hang on, man, I've been living like this for 30 years. Why are you doing this? And so for those women, and I'm telling you this, if you are one of those women, your weight loss challenge is going to be more challenging than a woman who's gained and lost and gained and lost. Okay? Because your body has a set point, and that set point has been allowed to increase. The set point is where your body comfortably holds on to. And this is where women had a set point of when they were at 120 pounds for years. And then that set point slowly grew up, where now they're sitting at 140, and then they're at 160 for the last 10 years. And they go, oh my God, I used to sit at 120 pounds. Well, you might not be able to get back to 120 pounds again. But what's more important, of course, is your body fat. But that set point has crept up because we've let life creep in and we've allowed our body to get comfortable holding on to more weight. And that's usually how the set point increases. And it also increases because we're not doing the weight training, which keeps our bodies at the lower set point. We may weigh a bit more, but it's not body fat. We're lower in body fat. And so the weight training and the proper eating doesn't allow our set point to creep up, if that makes sense. I'm getting a little bit into my 6-week metabolism course. It's a little bit more intense, but I just wanted to let you know that if you're struggling right now with not seeing it move and thinking your metabolism's not working, it actually is working. It's working because it may be taking a breath. You have to be really honest with yourself, though, and say, am I doing everything on point with what we've done so far in this course? Am I managing? Am I fueling with the right amount of macros? Again, they're not hard numbers. Remember, I just want you to be in averages for, like, let's try 30, 30, 30, 30% macro or 30% protein, 30% carb, 30% fat. And then the other 10, you've got leeway there. That's generally how I do it for most clients. It's easy and it gets you to not have to think too much about it. You don't have to run to an app all the time. You can just visualize your plate. Where's the protein? First thing, where's the protein and how much is there? Okay, where's the carbs? So do I have a little bit of starchy and a little bit of fibrous? And where's the healthy fat? That's all you have to do. And with most of my meals, I have that too. Not always. I might have an apple, half an apple with some almond butter on it, but I know that my protein needs have been met in my other 3 meals. I'm a high protein gal. I like protein because it fills me up. It makes me feel level. I don't crave, and my body knows how to use the protein at that amount because I've done it for so long. It might take you guys a while to build up. You can't go from 20 grams of protein to 100 because you might get constipated. And the reason for that, again, is you've taught your body to survive with lesser protein. Now you have to teach it slowly in increments to take in more protein. It's the same with calorie cutting. I mentioned this in week 1 or week 2 with cutting calories. Week 2, don't go from 2,500 calories down to 1,200. It's too much of a jump. Do 10 to 20%. And then stay with it for a couple weeks, because if you go from high to low, your body is going to go, whoa, put on the brakes, and you're going to plateau, and it might last a very long time. So we teach our bodies how to behave, and metabolism, and having a you want a resilient metabolism. What that means is you want it to be able to respond appropriately. So if you do go off the rails and say you haven't eaten for a couple days and your metabolism tanks, it knows not to stay there when you resume your normal consistent eating pattern, because it's like, oh, this isn't normally where we live. You know, we've done this before. It's okay. Karen knows the rule and we know the rule. We've been doing this long enough. So that's what a resilient metabolism is. It responds appropriately and quickly. The hard part is if you've been cutting calories for a long, long time, for months or years, and staying low. What is low? It depends. If you're weight training and you're not seeing any gains, then you might have to up a bit of your calories, right? And again, this is where the body fat comes in, guys. Don't worry about the weight. You are going to see the weight scale go up, no doubt, if you're following your macros and if you are weight training, because you are building muscle, but muscle also holds water, okay? So for every gram of muscle, there's about 4 grams of water, and that's a flushing effect that will flush out, but it takes a few days. So you guys know by now probably when you train with weights, you might feel tighter in your shirt. Some women feel tighter in their pants. Now, bigger women get really freaked out because they're bigger. So they've got more fat, more muscle on their body that's responding to this engorgement of water. And they're like, holy shit, my legs are this big. I can't weight train because I get big too fast. That is a myth. It's because the water, you're overhydrated in your body as a natural reaction to weight training. Because with weight training, again, not cardio, weight training, you are tearing down the muscles. That's what you're doing every time you go in, and you're having a hard time finishing out the reps in that set. That's where I want you to be now. You should be training 4 days a week. When you're having a hard time getting that 8th, 9th, 10th rep out, that is where the real work comes in. It's not the other 4, 5, or 6 before. That's just to tire out the muscle so that when you feel that intensity, that is where all the success comes in, is in those last 2 or 3 reps. You're tearing your muscles. They're like, rah, and you're tearing them apart. Now they have to knit back together again, and they're like, okay, we really got to bond strong this time, boys, so that doesn't happen again. And that's the whole simplicity of weight training, is we're tearing apart, and it has to respond by building up stronger the next time. And with that, it has to draw water in order to help with that healing. So women will find they're getting bigger in their muscles, and they think that they're going to become big muscle-bound women. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I am not a muscle-bound woman, and I train hard. Now, genetics do play into it, sure. I have met a few women, I would say maybe 5 or 6 in my 35 plus years of doing this, where I could look at them and go, we need to slow down your program because you're going to gain muscle fast. Generally, I know their genetics, I can see them, and it shows up right away. It's not normal at all, but most women don't like that tight feeling in their genes. And I understand that, but it is temporary, and that overhydration will leave within 2 or 3 days. So it's a natural part of the process. So do not worry about gaining too much muscle. If you were to step on the scale during that phase, you would see you're probably actually down in body fat and up in weight. Oh no, sorry, yeah. Down in body fat but up in weight, and that weight is mostly water weight. We see this, again, everything I've learned about the body, I've learned by putting it through show because it's so intense, and I'm such a nerd when it comes to watching the science and the biochemistry behind it, and I was always a natural athlete, and I've done 4 decades of this, so I can look at it every decade and go, okay, this one's different, but there is a consistency to it. And when it comes to watching how the body responds when you take it down to nothing, and then you go out and you have a big refeed, I would gain 5 pounds. I would gain 5 pounds, and I always say to my competitors, now when you go out for your refeed, which is whatever day it happens to be, do not weigh yourself for 3 days, because you're going to freak out. Because the first day you're going to think, oh, I kind of got away with it, not too bad. The second day it's going to be, holy shit, I've gained 3 pounds. By the third day, the end of the third day, it's going to start to subside. And when it starts to subside, it's because the water is managing through your muscles and it's being leveled out again, okay? So when you tear your muscles with weight training, the water has to come in to help the healing. The scale goes up. That's why you need body fat. That's why I want you guys to start talking body fat. The Omron 305 you can get on Amazon.ca. It's only like 35 bucks. Everybody should have it. And don't put it on athletic setting. Keep it on normal. If you're putting your age in there, you keep your age at 40 because it skews it after that. I don't know why it shouldn't. I think it's a marketing thing. But I've done this long enough to know, and it's pretty reliable, and I will do it every few weeks, but I'm pretty good at, I don't really have to manage my body fat anymore. But with my clients, I want them to see and start speaking in body fat, okay? Because we're not talking weight here. I don't care if you're 140 pounds. I'm the same weight at 125 that I was in my teens. My body is totally different. So it's not about the weight, it's about the body fat. And so let me just finish with the metabolism. When we come to, sorry, it's just some of these myths I want to go through. Eating metabolism boosting foods, whatever. If you like cayenne peppers, then eat them, but don't think you're going to lose 10 pounds by doing it, okay? Again, this is where we look at good versus bad foods. There's nothing good or bad about anything, but there ain't no magic. The magic is in the day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, consistency of timed and portioned food, and balancing that with activity. But don't look to more training to burn those calories. You have to rein in your eating at an appropriate level, but not too much, or you're not going to be able to build shapely muscle. That is for you to find your place, and it's only through trial and error where you're going to go, okay, I'm at 800 calories. Yeah, sure, I've lost a lot of weight. Most of it's water. Who cares? The scale says, yeah, I'm down 10 pounds. I'm not training though. And at the get-go, you might see some results because you've shed a lot of that water weight, and you might see some etching in your muscles, but you'll like stay there and you won't see any results. Or you might start feeling flat, we call it, is where you don't see any shape, or flabby. And so you're going to go, okay, I need to eat a bit more. So you need to up your calories to like 1,200 calories and see where your energy is at. So your performance in the gym is determined by the food you're taking in. This is where you're really going to know if you're cutting calories too much. That is why when we go into show, we actually don't cut calories that much. We do more cardio, but we're offsetting it with weight training. But we're doing the cardio because we've got to get the weight down, but we've got to keep shoveling the food in. So I'm at like 1,600 calories still, but now I have to lose the weight. And I can't do it by cutting calories because that has to go into muscle building and muscle retaining. You actually don't build muscle when you're heading into show. You're trying to retain it. So with metabolism, it is about making sure that you're feeding it appropriately and consistently. Your metabolism will not strengthen and will not stay strong if you're denying it food, because that's its fuel. But you have to give it quality macros, guys, proteins, carbs, and fats at almost every meal. And I say almost because there are times when a meal for me will be an apple with some almond butter. I like my fat. I can handle my fat. It sticks to my ribs. And if I don't have fat with my oatmeal in the morning, I'm hungry within an hour and a half. So I have a tablespoon of my almond butter. That's what works for me. It might not work for you because it might send you into a fat feeding frenzy, right? Where you're eating fat because all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I like this. But for me, it doesn't. So this is where you are learning about your body. That's why I wanted your biofeedback sheet sent back to me. And we're going to be doing them again in a few weeks because I'm trying to get you to look at your food and look into the mental and the emotional responses of it, put it down on paper and send it back to me. This is the accountability piece, but this is also about you being able to look at it and go, huh, that's interesting. And what I noticed about the fats one, and I see this all the time in the challenge, women are still afraid to supplement with fat. Oh, I don't want to supplement with fat. I don't want to take that capsule of 200 milligrams because how much fat is that? Because they look at it and they can see it's fat. And yet they're going to go out and have a pumpkin spice latte, which probably has about 9 grams of trans fats, the nasty fats, which is 9 grams, that's 360 calories, right? Of fat only. So consider that, you guys. Don't worry about your tablespoon, or I do 2 teaspoons when I'm doing my fat, whether it's hemp or whether it's whatever. I like to do the 2 teaspoons. A tablespoon is just too much for me, unless it's almond butter. I can easily do a tablespoon, but I measure it. I have a tablespoon that sits in a little tray on my windowsill, because if I don't measure it, you better believe I can dig in there like there's no tomorrow, right? Just like digging into the Ben and Jerry's watching TV. Oh, I'm just going to have a little bit. Oh, right? So these tools are just tools to be used, but it helps me feel confident, in control, and it helps me stay on track. And all it is a tablespoon sitting in a little dish on my windowsill, and I scoop it out with that. And then I can manage my day. It's just one of those little things that I do that helps me. So this is where you guys are going to start creating your own little rituals, and it might change. It might change in time. My eating's changed, but not as far as, I mean, I'm a pretty good eater, but my eating has changed a little bit where I'm a little bit more high fat, a little bit lower carbs as I age, but I'm still about 100 grams of carbs a day, which is still plentiful. But I'm a smaller person. I'm 5'2". I'm small boned. So all this stuff has to come into play where you come to know your place. This really is about biofeedback, guys. This is about you guys trial and erroring. And again, when I say trial and error, give it 2 weeks before you change anything. And if you do change something, just change one thing. If something's not working and you've topped out in your fat loss, do not add in 3 hours of cardio and cut and add in the swimming class. You're never going to know what's working. Plus, you're probably going to be doing too much, and you're going to zoom your body down, and the metabolism and the fat loss is going to halt. It's going to go, whoa, boys, she's trying to kill us here. She's doing way too much, and this is erratic, and I don't trust it, and let's put on the brakes. Because you see, your body is always trying to protect you. And when you do stupid shit, because it's trendy, or because as women we've all tried the diet plans and then gone off and gained weight and gone back onto another diet plan. I remember the grapefruit diet. I remember the water diet. I remember the master cleanser. Oh my God, right? And all this does is it just teaches your body that you're a piece of work and that there's going to be something else coming around the bend, and it learns to put on the brakes faster and faster and faster every time. Remember, we teach our bodies how to respond. So what you have to do is you have to be the adult in this situation and coax your body. Don't force it into fat loss, or even first into just consistent meals, consistent timing, so your body comes to learn the proper way. Like we always say, metabolism first, weight loss second. Okay, so let's get everything consistent, and that means weekends too. Weekends are not a free-for-all. I mean, you don't go out and spend $1,000 on weekends, do you? Maybe you do. Maybe you're wealthy enough you can. I don't. I don't get to go out and spend a lot of money on weekends. I'm still managing a mortgage and managing bills, all that kind of stuff. Why would we go crazy with our food? Because you're using it as a reward. Oh, work was so hard, now I get to. What if you really don't like your work? Get out of it. Really. I mean, that's what I did. It took me a long time till I finally figured that I don't want to sit and watch a clock and have a boss for the next 30 years and just wait for time to pass. What a friggin' waste of time for me. And that was when I decided to get out of traditional employment and build my own. And I have so much freedom and so much joy in what I do, but I had to own it. I had to own it and go, okay, I'm miserable and I'm crabby to my family and crabby to my, or I'm looking at, oh, everybody else is lucky but me, or, oh, she's got it lucky because no. This is your life and you can claim it as you want to, but it takes courage. Remember I talked about that emotional scale from letting it go, right? That scale of courage, 200 is where the body and the cells start to really vibrate into light. If you could use the medical camera that they use, everything is emanating light. That place of courage is where you say, I'm enough, I want to own this, I will step into it. I'm afraid, but I will step into it. It's not, courage is not moving in absence of fear. That's not courage. Courage is when you move because you're afraid. And I always say, every time I fly, I'm the most courageous person I know because I friggin' hate flying. But I remember saying to my young self when I was in my early 20s, if I don't get over this, I'm never going to travel. I'm never going to go anywhere. I'm never going to go back and see my family. This is insane. And I didn't get over it. I managed to move through the fear. But every time I move through it and I get off the plane at the other end, I'm like so proud of myself. So proud. It's the same with competition, going up on stage in front of 1,500 people in a bikini like this size, right? And it was the scariest thing for me. But I didn't want to not do it because I would let myself down. I didn't want to turn away from it because I would forever be going, why didn't I just go through it? Why didn't I just, what does it matter? And I learned to push through it, and I was scared shitless, but I did it. And I'm telling you, that's where competitors go, wow, that was the best experience ever. And you build so much confidence in just being able to do that kind of thing, moving through the fear. And when you come out the other side, that is where the real energy building comes in. That is where the spirit soars. That is where I want you guys to get in control of your emotional eating, to really see it for what it is, call it for what it is, and don't beat yourself up. And understand that metabolism is not about fat loss. Metabolism is not about, oh, it's slow because I'm 55 years old. No. That's no. You have not kept it strong over the years because you didn't know what to do, likely because we weren't taught. You weren't weight training for the last 30 years. You weren't eating whole foods. You weren't consistent in your eating. Your leptin and ghrelin is all messed up. Now you've got hormones thrown in there. Now you're probably sitting at a sitting job or sitting at home more watching Netflix. Now you probably have a little bit of a wine habit, like me. And so all of these things add up. Okay, so as adults, we move in and we move through life with eyes wide open. And we start to own it. And when you can own it, and then you start writing it down, then you can say, all right, I see it clearly. I really want to make change. I don't want to have wine every night. I don't want to go out every Friday night and go crazy. Yeah, I'll go out and have, you know, maybe a few nibbles of, or my husband and I go out and we have a burger and we split it. And we have salad and we split it, and I have a glass of wine. So I don't go out and go crazy on Friday night, but I do go out, but I can't eat, or I don't want to eat a whole burger because I'll feel shitty and groggy. I'll have the carb hangover on Saturday morning. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to live like that anymore. So I click into, okay, if I make this choice and I have half a burger, I'm going to feel good and proud of myself. If I make this choice and have a whole burger and chocolate pie and 3 glasses of wine, I'm going to feel shitty tomorrow. So I want you to click into the emotions after where you think you might fall off with your eating and go, is it worth it to me? Not anymore. Nope, not anymore. Half a burger and a bit of salad and 1 glass of wine is enough for me to feel I'm going out Friday night and I'm enjoying, I'm still in bed by 10. That's where I want you guys to get to. And it's an easy place to get to if you just make the decision that you don't want to live like the majority out there. Because the majority does not have it right. The majority is fighting with a dysfunctional emotional connection to food, or porn, or clothing, or betting, gambling, or affairs, or whatever it happens to be. People are checking out all over the place. And that is why our world is in such an awful place, because people are not meeting themselves and not going into the healing and the owning and the naming of stuff where they need to go. And that's what we need to do as adults. Okay.